Um, Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Irina Litchfield, and today I'm here to introduce you to Jared Tate. Jared is one of the legends of our industry. He really stands for truly decentralized platforms. He lives it, he works it, he makes it happen. He's also a visionary and amazing technologist. So today I want you to get to know him. It's my pleasure to call him friend, and so I wanted to share Jared with you from the eyes and perspective that I know him.
Well, thank you, Irina, for having me here today. I guess here I am, almost 8 years later now. Still absolutely in love with the blockchain as a technology, and super excited for what it means for the future moving forward.
Yeah.
What?
Lately, what I've been thinking a lot about is what are the challenges of the truly decentralized platforms? We talk about decentralization and how it's going to change the world, but in reality, most of money and most of deployment and most of kind of a growth of public's attention goes into centralized platforms. And so I want to ask you more questions about that today. Would you tell us about kind of a core values of DigiByte?
Yeah, well,
DigiBytes.
just to kind of just take a little step further back there. I mean, absolutely. That's, I think, the biggest problem in this industry today, as we say here in January of 2019, is there's a tremendous misunderstanding of what blockchain technology really is and what it was designed to be and what really makes it effective. If we go back to 2009 in Satoshi's white paper about a decentralized peer-to-peer cash system, nowhere in there did that mean, centralized exchanges or centralized payment providers or centralized dApp providers that provide most of the infrastructure for what people call their decentralized applications. And you are seeing this, I don't want to use any profanity here, but you're seeing a lot of perversion of this word blockchain.
Yeah.
And you're seeing.
I like that word. I think it describes it
right
correctly.
You have people coming along, pretending and talking up a technology they're claiming to be decentralized, and then you find out that their entire system runs on a handful of servers they control. That's no different than a cluster database. And the other thing that I think that a lot of people don't really understand is they think blockchain is this thing that just popped up out of nowhere. It just came, just boom, here it was. And in reality, blockchain is the continuation of 50 or 60 years of developments in mathematics and cryptography and computer science. Like the term cipher blockchaining, which I've never personally asked Satoshi this, but I'm pretty sure that's where he got the idea for the name blockchain. That term and that idea has been around since the 60s when it came to cryptographic ciphers.
Yeah.
And if you look at the systems in a modern, what I consider a pure blockchain, which I guess in order to have an intelligent conversation, you need to define your terms. But so for me, when I hear the term blockchain, I think of a really decentralized platform that's spread out amongst thousands of different computers and servers, or what we like to call as nodes, across the planet. And it doesn't rely on a single point of failure anyway. So if you have...
That's where the kind of the cherry on the topping is. That's the whole point, right?
Right, that's the whole point.
It removes that distrust.
Right, and I've had a lot of people over the last few years, companies, corporations that have brought me in, and they're like, oh, we want to do this on a blockchain, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense because there's other architecture and technology out there.
That's better.
It's faster, it's more efficient, from a technical computer science perspective and a business perspective.
Yeah.
So, you got to look at what is the real value of a blockchain. The value of a blockchain is trust in a trustless environment. And that trust comes from the fact nobody controls it, and you have a ledger that's immutable across, hundreds of countries and thousands of different servers.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you really don't have a true blockchain. And I think 2019 people are starting to realize that, but I think there's a lot of education and a lot, there's still a long ways to go.
Yeah.
I'll meet people that have been invested for several years now, and they still, fundamentally don't really understand a lot of the stuff underlying the technology, which is fine, because at the same way, if you look at, if you ask your average person on the street, well, how does your email work, or how does your Facebook account or your social media account, like what allows that to happen? They're not going to be able to explain TCP/IP, or HTTP or
know.
SSL.
I can't. Yeah, and I'm more than average in the street. Yeah.
So it's not like we can expect people to be able to really understand how the blockchain works, but I feel like there needs to be at least an industry acknowledgement that blockchain technology, in order for it to really work, it needs to be in a trustless, decentralized manner. That was the whole point. That was this whole movement. And I actually think sometimes even some of the developers that I've met and seen themselves truly just quite don't understand that.
Yeah.
And there's this whole notion that you have to be a company in order to build a blockchain, which is what we've seen in 2018, and we're seeing in 2019. And there's really only a handful of projects that are around that are actually truly decentralized with no company, no central point of authority. And, a lot of those kind of get drowned out.
Which brings me to really kind of the issue that I see. I think that, one of the reasons that centralized platforms are more popular is because maybe they have marketing budget for that. And so how do you think we can address the issue of that? How do we as a industry, as a community, empower decentralized platforms, and what kind of incentive, how can we build this pipeline of support, you think?
One of the amazing things that I've witnessed within the DigiByte community, because like you said, we don't have a centralized community. We never did a massive ICO or anything. I mean, we didn't do an ICO at all. Like, ICO wasn't even a term back then. We launched even before Ethereum. So, it was a long time ago, but we've had this organic grassroots movement of people that contribute, in their spare time. Now, the beauty of that is, the entire market could crash and go to zero, and we're still going to survive and keep going, But then when another surge happens, we don't have millions of dollars playing advertisements and doing all this other stuff. But it is an issue. It is a hardship, because it's like, we'd love to be able to go hire 100 developers and pay them to go
make difference.
And make a difference.
It really matters, because it provides the decentralization and distribution of wealth as well, right? So it kind of moves us away from centralized platforms into this new mindset, because to me, that's what you have to accept is that there is a benefit for everybody. We can have plenty for all. It doesn't have to be all under a certain control. I mean, certainly I think that there is a need for centralized products and centralized platforms for some things, but the whole idea of crypto is decentralization. Like you said, it's like the whole point of it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the beautiful, fascinating phenomena that I've witnessed is all of a sudden, because we stand, with the DigiByte project for true, pure decentralization and empowering people, like sometimes, even to this day, there's some brilliant programmers, I don't even know who they are, and they've contributed some amazing code, and they never asked to be paid, they never asked, but for them, the fulfillment and the ability to contribute to such a project. Is
my husband is a technologist, and so he often goes and contributes to different open sources, so all kinds of different ones. And no, he doesn't publicize it or talk about it. It's like he has this need or want to give work, want to contribute.
And quite often, from my experience, trying to hire people to do certain things versus allowing people that genuinely are interested or passionate about it, it's far better to allow that, because that the collective understanding, I believe, is always going to be greater than, a single centralized individual or group of people. Because when you can open it up to, anyone in the world to be able to analyze your source code, to contribute and to understand what they're doing and what they're contributing to. It's far more powerful than just putting somebody on a salary for $150,000, $200,000 a year. And that's just been from my own experience in this industry, hiring blockchain developers or hiring people that just weren't really passionate about the technology. They just wanted a paycheck. But yeah, nonetheless, it is a problem because you do have to keep moving forward.
So if you asked from community, I guess one request for the sake of all decentralized, support of all decentralized platforms, what would be your ask? Like, do this. Like, what is that do?
Well, I think it's like share and contribute. I mean, we've helped, code and stuff that we've pioneered is now used in Bitcoin Cash, even Ethereum, Zcash, like dozens of other blockchains. And some of them we've helped and advised. Like, hey, this is how you fix your problem. And there's a lot of things that have been developed. Like even some of the new developments with the Bitcoin core library we'll pull in and we'll adopt into DigiByte. And a few other things we've pulled from here and there. And so I think more of a collaborative environment because I don't think and I don't believe there should be just one single Bitcoin or one single blockchain to rule them all. Because I mean I can point out several vulnerabilities and flaws in Bitcoin core code right now, right?
There are different reasons for why to have different platforms.
Right, it's testing, and that's the beauty of this industry, the open source nature is anybody can take it, run with an idea. I mean, that's what we did back in 2014. And here we are. But at the same time, newer, younger projects that start from scratch, if they launch in an ethical and proper manner, have the ability to be much more flexible with testing new ideas. Once you get to a certain point where you have hundreds of millions, billions of dollars on the line, you can't just go start randomly tweaking code, because
we've seen that.
It doesn't end well. So the game changes. So for experimentation, exploration, new ideas, it's great to have that ecosystem. But you see, I was talking to an individual the other night, and he told me he was kind of new to the industry, new to working in a blockchain company. And he's like, wow, crypto Twitter is insanely toxic compared to any other industry I've been in marketing and PR. And I'm like, after 8 years, I've kind of gotten used to it. And honestly, it's not as bad as it was like back.
Yeah, it's just you become numb.
Right? But, if we all spent, a quarter of the amount of time and energy bashing each other in other projects and other things. Now, some of them deserve to be called out. Like, I'm not disputing that. But, if you just spent that...
that brings me to a point. I've seen you actually personally stand up to some wrongs in the industry. And I think we actually are lacking the bravery of standing up and saying, this is wrong and asking questions openly.
Yeah,
it's like there's almost this noise that happens, and that's all.
After myself, doing it, and after being in a little bit more of a privileged situation of myself being public for, going on 6 years now, in the space, I guess I can get a few more ears, but even with what I've said, it just seems to fall on deaf ears. Because I think part of it is people don't quite understand. And then second, I think a lot of people are just blinded by greed and flat out don't care.
I have a question for you. I've been asking this question for last month, and I'm kind of almost surveying in my mind. But what percentage of current exchanges do you, in your opinion, implement wash trading?
Oh, I would say the majority of them that are based out of highly regulated environments.
Would it be over 50%?
Yeah, I would probably say.
Over 75?
I mean, like the other day, like 2 weeks ago, I started looking at the coin market cap list for Bitcoin, and like the top 15 exchanges I never even heard of. Yeah. And I'm like, where do these groups? They just pop up over and over. And a lot of times you get the same software repackaged by the same people. They just launch it under a different name. Do you think over
75?
I'd have to do a little bit more data analysis, but definitely over 50%.
Okay.
I would probably say somewhere between 60 to 80.
Yeah.
And then it depends on what your definition
of wash. Let's call it 75.
Right.
We'll just think in quarters.
But yeah, no, absolutely. And, and that's the thing a lot of people don't understand is they They log in and they're like, oh, look at all this volume. Look at all, I had another individual telling me one of these new exchanges that supposedly had, millions and millions of dollars. They were able to alter the market with $20 US, and this exchange had millions of dollars in daily volume. It's just all wash trading.
Which is illegal, by the way.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing a lot of new people don't quite understand.
Yeah. When they hear terminology, they don't understand what that means.
And I'm not going to name names here, but it was such a prevalent problem in the past that pretty much all the exchanges that started, even in the United States, were doing it in their early days. And then I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but my suspect is some people came in and were like, hey, you can't do that anymore.
You cannot do that. This is illegal.
And then all of a sudden,
SEC knocked on the door and said, excuse me, probably.
Right. And then all of a sudden their trading volume falls by like 90% in like a week. So, which obviously that's part of the industry being cleaned up. So,
yes.
It's a little bit better now than it was, 3-4 years ago. It was complete chaos. It was the wild, wild west. It was like
I remember,
anything goes.
Yeah.
The reality is it's like, I was just in the process of preparing my taxes and, I have to basically do zero cost basis on everything from 2013, 2014, because all the platforms I used back then aren't even around. They've been gone for years. Yeah. So there's like no way to have records of all that stuff. So
let's talk about the future. I want to talk about 2035. And
2035. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of writing a book called Blockchain 2035, the digital DNA of Internet 3.0. And the reason that I'm writing it, which we're about 300 pages in now, hopefully going to get it out here in the next couple of months. I've had so many people ask me questions, and a lot of times it's the same questions. And, like right now, I probably have, I don't know how many thousand messages I haven't responded to on Telegram and LinkedIn. Just like as a human being, I can't do that.
It's impossible.
So I'm like, okay, maybe I should write a book and summarize all these things, all these ideas, all these questions, all the insights that I've gathered over the last 8 years and put that forward. So that's what we're doing. It's also the year that the last DigiByte is mined, in the year 2035. So that's kind of how the original idea came for it. But also it's far enough out where we can kind of have a little more fun with, I guess fortune telling, but they're not really fortune telling, but future telling, vision. But, we go through and we explain the basics, the history of what this technology is, where it came from, its real roots, stuff I've never heard anybody talk about, but I've just learned from experience dealing with it.
Yeah.
Hopefully kind of reframe. We go all the way back to Claude Shannon in his famous paper in 1948 on information theory, which is the basis.
Did you read this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. And several books about it. And it's very fascinating to see how the chain of events from what his work in 1948 and the basically beginning of the digital revolution ties in to what we're doing today with this kind of technology. And some of the issues, with modern cryptography, like how do you accurately keep time in a computer system? And also, a few other things, the distribution of public and private keys, which hopefully we're going to try and break that down, and kind of present it to the, average person in a way that they can kind of comprehend it and see why it's important. And that this thing we call a blockchain is really the foundation for securing the next era of the internet, which we call Internet 3.0. And that's why we like to use the analogy. It's like if you imagine all the DNA in your body. You have DNA in your hair, your hands, your arms. Well, what if it was all on your fingertip and, you were chopping some vegetables or making some cocktails and you slipped and you cut it off? Well, you'd have a lot of problems, right? Your body would slowly wither and die. You couldn't have children. But that's basically how we architect systems to this day.
To where if you cut the finger, you can die.
Right. Yeah. We put millions of people's records in a single point of failure.
I love that analogy.
And so, if we just look at what nature does, I mean, the analogy actually even goes deeper. If you even start talking about DNA and, like for instance, you and your husband, you have a child.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of the same way as like signing a transaction and creating it and sending it to a new address and using the public and private key. There's actually some parallels to nature. It's kind of fascinating. But it really is what blockchain provides is a foundation to fix and to secure 95% of today's cybersecurity vulnerabilities. And every day, people are becoming more and more vulnerable. You really don't have control of your own data or information digitally. That's why I'm in favor of the creation of, like a digital, a bill of digital rights. There's a disconnect between the existing legal system and where we are today.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I think what Europe did with the GDPR is actually definitely ahead of where we are in the United States.
I agree. And Malta moving forward with their legislation and really building platform
right.
that supports the industry, I think is a really huge,
right.
huge step for whole Europe.
Well, and that brings up another point, which, as an American, obviously I would, love for America to take the lead on this technology, but the reality is it's not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, as we say here, the U.S. government's now been shut down for 32 days.
Yes.
They can't even pass a budget. So it's definitely just not a priority here, but this technology is the key to our future. Blockchain, properly applied blockchain technology is, the absolute key to securing and moving into the year 2035. We talk about in the book how blockchain can be used to secure AI and to help keep AI systems in check. IoT devices. Everybody has all these sensors that are connected to the internet in their home. How do you know what they're doing? How do you know what they're listening to? How do you know what data they're recording and keeping? Well, you tie all those things to your Bitcoin or DigiByte private keys and use those as the cryptographic, gate and method to protect that. You can actually do some really cool stuff, and you can take charge of your data and your information through IoT devices.
How could one pre-sign up for your book?
We're going to get the website up.
Okay.
To start off, for right now, if you go to Twitter,
okay.
I'm at Jared C. Tate. Follow me as soon as we get the website and the newsletter up. You can go there, and then you'll know exactly when it's ready.
Yes.
But yeah, that would be the easiest way for now.
And you have a voice on Twitter as well. So I highly recommend you guys following Jared because you can really kind of see a lot of see what's happening in the industry from very sober eyes.
That's one of the reasons I'm doing the book is I've had unfiltered access to every part of the industry, for going on eight years now.
And the fact that you're building decentralized platform, you're free voice. Just because you say, let's say you're founder, it's fascinating to me. Just because you say so that you want to do something, your community could just say,
hey,
no, thank you very much.
Right.
We're not doing that.
Right. No, I mean, just because I'm the founder and creator, to change the network or do anything, it would take months at this point, and the work and effort of hundreds, if not thousands, of other people. So, that's kind of the beauty of it. And the community
would have to pool together and really kind of find one consciousness that would work for them.
Right, and that's the beauty is we do have a very, very good community and group of people. That have, for the most part. I mean, I've had disagreements with people. I've seen multiple disagreements, but overall, we seem to be able to work together and work it out, and a pretty mature level group of people. So, and there's people all over the world contributing, and we warmly welcome anybody watching this. Go to digibyte.io, check it out. We have tons of different community chats. You start in the official chat on Telegram. It's kind of where all the community is. I think there's 20,000 people in that chat. We've got 1,600 people in our developer chat. So, we've got contributors from all over the world. So,
I believe Craig Sellers likes to say that decentralized platform is its own entity, and it will live beyond you and beyond anybody else. It just kind of becomes its own life form, and just lives on, independent from your desires.
Right, no, it does.
Maybe, right? Or maybe, hopefully, with your desires, and one day person dies and it community keeps living. And I mean, that's been the spirit. We've, definitely made sure that,
At this point, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, like there's hundreds of dedicated people that keep going. So at this point, the majority of new stuff that's happening, I'm not even directly involved with. I learn stuff every day about a new product, a new platform, or a new exchange that's including us, and I've never been involved. Which is awesome. So a lot of people I'll get asked and hit up, and I'm like, look, this is the first time hearing about this too. So which is cool.
It brings me to a question of kind of thinking of in what issues we're seeing, or what issues are there in centralized platforms. So I would like to talk about EOs and kind of see what do you think is a possible answer and solution for governance issue, because it seems that the question keeps coming to what about the governance, and so I want to know, in your opinion, is it possible, if it's broken, is it possible to fix governance, and is it possible to decentralize centralized platform?
Well, I would turn this around and I would say just look at Bitcoin. I don't think it's broken. Here we are a decade later. It's still, number one market cap. There is no centralized party for anything. I mean, we saw, there's been attempts to do that, but, they've inevitably failed. But Bitcoin itself, to this point, it's almost, you have that core technology that underlines it, that core platform, but it's still super effective at what it's designed to do, right?
Yeah.
Because there is no governance.
Yeah.
The only governance that's really in there is, the cryptographic and mathematical code, the laws of mathematics.
Yeah.
So is that the ultimate form of governance? And that's what we've tried to run along that path with DigiByte.
Yeah.
Now, from there, I think there is a gamut of, options.
Yeah.
But whenever you put the control and the power in the hands of a few, you're going to have the same things happen, over and over and over again. So, I think the only way that some of this technology is going to be adopted is, one of the motivating factors for me getting involved with blockchain, after, I won't go into detail, but, the financial crisis in 2008 hit me personally pretty hard. Woke me up, made me start researching the current financial system and seeing all the problems and issues with it. But still, that system is better in place today than nothing at all, right? I mean, if we didn't have that system, there was anarchy and chaos in the streets, it wouldn't be a very pleasant time to be alive.
We've evolved pretty well as societies to function better.
Right.
Through our systems.
So I look at the ultimate vision of the future is blockchain technology providing a peaceful transition to a new era and a new system of true and pure decentralization, where the human being is responsible, or can take charge of their own destiny and their own data, and not be beholden to mega corporations and companies. And, they have a say, and they can control and protect themselves, digitally. And blockchain technology allows for a smooth transition because, everybody knows the internet's broken today. It's completely insecure. It was never designed to be secure. And it's almost like everybody walks around in a state of blissful ignorance about the reality. It's like nobody really seems to want to fight about it and, do something about it. But eventually, it's going to get bad enough where, I think it's going to get much worse before it gets better. Yeah. But we have the solution. We're working on this solution. And that solution is properly applied blockchain technology in different industries, different areas, right? But it allows for a peaceful transition if, I guess the powers that be allow for that to happen, which I think a lot of people, I used to be a lot more afraid, back in 2013, 2014, when there was government programs to shut it down.
Yes. It was much harder to operate in 2013.
Right.
I think there is a lot of underestimation of how challenging it was.
Yeah, and it's still very challenging. Mm-hmm. So I think as we move forward into 2019, 2020, we're also moving into this era of geopolitical uncertainty. If you look at what's happening in Europe, just the internal division here in the United States, Then you have these trade disputes. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's more uncertainty now in the world than there has been for quite some time. Yeah. And I also think part of that is we're starting to see the cracks and the fissures in the existing fiat financial system.
And luckily, we've been having a lot of people working on building new systems. And
we're 10 years.
Supported. Yeah, I think that's fascinating. You know,
we're 10 years into a completely new system outside of the system that, had we had this conversation 5 years ago, I said there's no way that we could handle the burden of the world's financial system on there. Now, I think we're getting close. I think if you had to, and there was a transition to, international, global, decentralized currencies, obviously I think Bitcoin is still going to be the gold standard, in terms of like value and retention. But I think, we are getting to the day where that is becoming easier and easier. You're starting to see nation states produce their own, national backed cryptos. Now, the way they went about it, that's yet to be determined. But I think it's going to be a fascinating, road into 2035. But once again, it goes back to there's so many different ways blockchain technology can be applied across almost every industry and every new technology. One of the things we talk about in the book is blockchain is the rails for AI to run on. It's how you can keep an AI system in check. It's how you can allow for a lot of different things. Same with IoT devices. Same with this decentralized internet and all these connected devices. It needs to happen. And the security solutions here. It's just a lot of people are so quick to dismiss blockchain because they just think currency, they just think money, they just think finance, fiat, when the reality is what makes it work and the reason why, Bitcoin itself or DigiByte itself has never been hacked or broken. Now, there's been centralized implementations that have relied on outdated methods that have been compromised, but the actual core protocol itself, has never been broken. And so applying that same, cryptography and that same applied the way things are done to other systems, we can build much more robust and secure platforms across the internet. And I think it's going to become more and more apparent. There's going to be more and more cyber breaches, more data breaches, and more problems.
I think we're getting pretty close to where people are just kind of starting to wake up and be annoyed with this whole situation of the way current things work. I'd love to know your opinion on STOs. There's a lot of kind of a talk now that ICO is dead, viva the STO. And so I would like to know if you think that we're going to see traction with STOs.
I think this really comes down to, first and foremost, issuing securities on a blockchain is 100% the way of the future. It's just a matter of which jurisdiction does this first. And my belief is you're going to see certain jurisdictions authorize this, legalize it, and then you're going to see massive capital inflows from other parts of the world, and you're going to see this kind of like hurry up and recover response from
the follow-on.
Because when these other countries start seeing these massive capital outflows to these blockchain-based systems, it's going to be a huge rude awakening. And I don't think, I don't want to say specific groups, but I think we could probably figure that out. People are taking it serious enough. But it is the way of the future. It just makes sense. It reminds me of the story or the headlines from, after Henry Ford released the first automobiles, when stagecoach drivers would put barbed wire fence around cars to keep them from moving because they were threatened by the new technology. Yet that automobile is much faster, much more efficient, and just tremendously better. So here we are in this day and age, 2019, we've got an amazing innovation to significantly increase the efficiency of the way stock markets around the world work. Yeah. But what you're seeing power players position themselves to be able to corner and dominate the market. So I'm seeing that. It's definitely going to happen. It's just a matter of when and then which jurisdictions decide to pass the most favorable legislation to allow it to happen, and they'll be the ones that becoming the global leaders. And I do see a future where if I want to buy a piece of stock or equity in some company in Hong Kong, and I'm in the United States, I should be able to do that. We're in the 21st century,
Absolutely.
right? Or if, somebody wants to invest in something and they're located in, Africa, and they want to invest in, some property here in Austin, why can't they do that?
It's inefficient at the current system.
Right.
And
Super inefficient.
using blockchain technology, we can optimize our systems and give us ability to be able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do it cheap.
Right. Because I think about how much, wasted effort of human potential. How many hours a day are there humans sitting there doing tedious processes that can be automated, done more efficiently, more securely, and much faster by some sort of applied blockchain system? So that way those individuals could be doing something else with their time, creating something new.
Pursue their passions.
Right, or helping create, a next generation of technology.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, the real driving force and passion for me is I believe blockchain technology is going to unleash a tremendous amount of human potential in just freeing up people's time and energy and being able to trust and secure systems. Like, how much time on a weekly basis do you waste, being worried about something because you don't know if something got processed on time or this was delivered, at the appropriate time. There's so many applications.
So many applications.
Yeah, and that's that's one of the things that's kind of overwhelming. And one of the hardest things I've had to learn is you just got to pick one and work towards it and use it, show it as an example to other people, then explain how you did it, so that way they can go out there and start implementing.
Persistence and perseverance is the kind of the two keys that are proven to lead to success.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
There are no secrets. They're all known facts of life. So, and to finish our interview, as my last question, I need to be respectful for your time. I would like to know what is in next year that you would love to see for the whole industry? If you asked for one thing as a dream come true for the whole industry, what is that ask and wish you have?
Yeah, I definitely would like to see more involvement and direction and openness from governments, around the world. In particular here in the United States, it would be nice if they would just come out, hey, here's how it's going to be, this is what we're going to do. And I would like to see just more, a turn back to, this understanding of what a blockchain really is. It's one of those things. We don't want to see everything we've worked for the last 10 years be, kind of lost and forgotten and destroyed, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah.
But I would love to see just more, understanding from at least the business side, community side of what a blockchain really is, which I think that comes back to, individuals like us sitting down, having these kind of conversations, getting it out there and helping educate, the newcomers or people that are interested in this technology, etc. But yeah, I think just clear government guidance would dramatically speed up the pace of adoption for this technology.
And I have good news too, that I think that kind of basically that's answer to your wish is that that's exactly what Malta is actually working on. So besides building a system for themselves, they're really empowering other governments and offering their assistance in the process to help them adopt it as well. And I think that's the kind of the step toward global regulatory infrastructure. I would love to see a country pass a law that gives maybe entity to decentralized platforms, to maybe empower people to say, okay, well, I'm going to come in and it's a new evolution of entity that's a decentralized, where there's no person behind it, but maybe it's a little too far.
Right? No, I mean,
I don't know.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's, Yeah, I mean, that would be a fantastic vision and idea, but
Only time will tell.
right, only time will tell.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time as well, and I will see you soon.
Yep, check out DigiByte.io, and you can follow me at Jared C. Tate on Twitter. Should have the book out here in the next couple months. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.